Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is, now that we have our category set up and we have the grade set up, I want to show you really quickly how you would add an assignment. So let's say I've just given my students a quarterly test. So I'm going to I'm going to click the plus button on the bottom left-hand corner to add a new assignment. I'm going to give this assignment a number because I like it when my assignments are organized nicely. So I'm going to call it 01, and I'm going to call it test on names, for fun. I'm going to give it an abbreviation really quickly, call it names. Now, here's the part that gets important. Now what you want to do is, for each of your assignments that you created, you want to select a category for it. And you can see that you can select categories that you have created before as well. Now, you want to make sure that you use an appropriate category, a category that you've selected in the grade setup. So for example, this is a test on names, so I'm just going to put it under the exams category. This particular, because we're using a percentage for the weightage of each category, you can either select a percentage here, or points, or a letter grade, whichever one you want. I'm going to make this one a points one because it's easy, and this test or whatever was out of 20, let's say, for instance, and this test has no extra points. I would always leave the weightage to 1.0 unless you think that, unless you suppose that this assignment, should be weighted higher or lower. So for example, the highest I would ever weigh an assignment is maybe 2.0, and the lowest I would weigh an assignment is 0.5, so half of its weightage. But yeah, this is going to have 1.0, and this, for example, the due date is very important because depending on when I set the due date for this assignment, the GradeBook, the software, will determine whether this assignment should be included in semester 1 grades or semester 2 grades. So do be careful when you're setting up the dates. For big assignments, we do recommend you give out small comments, a small description to let your students know how you're grading them or what the assignment is about. Let parents know as well. And once you're done, go ahead and hit save. You've created an assignment there now. And what we're going to do is, if you go back to the score sheet, you can see that now there's a new assignment created, and you can put in the grades for each student as so. Notice if I try to put in a number above what I've set the allocated points to, it says not a valid point score. So I'd have to change it to 0. There are some really quick functions here. So for instance, I can right click on the student, and I can mark it for the student to see whether the student was late or whether the student was exempt, or if I give a 0, whether the student's work was missing. I can also use some cool features, such as I could right click and quick fill scores, and I could assign everyone a number such as 9, for instance. If everyone somehow did really bad or really well, it could be useful. And for each student, if I wanted to, if I was particularly pleased with a particular student, or if I was particularly unpleased and I really wanted to give some feedback, I could right click on that score, go to Show Score Inspector, and I could type the student a little comment like, "This work was amazing," and just hit close. And once I've hit close, that comment is saved, and now the student can see that comment in their PowerSchool. Once everything is set up, once the year starts, the grades of each student will continuously update right here. So over here, they'll get a letter grade. You just fill in the assignments, and everything will be calculated by PowerSchool as long as you have the grade set up correctly for each class. Okay.